We've got some really big breaking news here, and I'm asking you to watch until the end of this video because this is a very rare instance where everyone watching can 100% have an impact. So as you know, Republicans are redrawing maps across the country. In Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, plans to do so in Indiana, Ohio, Florida, Kansas, and more. Democrats have been slow to respond. Obviously, California's map redraw is on the ballot for the November 4th election, but that's it. We do, however, have a few possible states where Democrats could fight fire with fire. Virginia, Illinois, but also Maryland. So here's the update. The Democratic leader of the Maryland State Senate, Democrat Bill Ferguson, has sent a letter to his colleagues rejecting the effort to redraw the state's maps, which says, in part, states like Texas and North Carolina are responding to Trump's incessant demands that they redistrict to rig the election results against Democrats. This push means that each of you are feeling the weight of the need to fight back, not just intrinsically, but from neighbors, family, other electeds, from constituents. I understand that pressure as I'm experiencing it alongside you. That is why I write to provide a little more clarity about our decision not to participate in mid-cycle redistricting. In short, the risk of redrawing the congressional map in Maryland is too high, making the unlikely possibility that we gain a seat not worth pursuing. The letter goes on to cite legal precedent that Ferguson claims would imperil the map. He claims that the timeline here could cause delays. And look, we could sit here all day and point to all of the reasons not to step up, but that's not leadership. That is fear. California had a million reasons to say no, and yet they stepped up and got it done. There was a political will to show some spine and fight for what's right. You think it wouldn't have been easier for California to just defer to the status quo? You think there weren't court challenges? There were. California won them because they fought them. Weak leaders come up with all of the reasons why we can't get to yes. Strong leaders don't take no for an answer. Ferguson goes on to write, I want to conclude by noting that I have personal concerns with the mid-cycle redistricting and its potential long-term effects on the resilience and trust in democracy. It is true that I believe that mid-cycle redistricting in Maryland twists rules for potential short-term advantage while undermining trust in institutions and ultimately democracy, but that is not the reason we should not pursue it. Simply put, it is too risky and jeopardizes Maryland's ability to fight against the radical Trump administration. At a time when every seat in Congress matters, the potential for ceding yet another seat to Republicans here in Maryland is simply too great. That is word salad. If you have concerns about democracy, then fight to protect it. We can good governance ourselves into obscurity, and with this attitude, that is exactly what we're doing. And look, I get it. It's a race to the bottom. But for as unfortunate a reality as that is, it is our reality. So we can either do nothing and lose or fight back. That's it. It's binary. Again, as unfortunate as it may be, we don't have the luxury then of sitting back and hoping that democracy will just resolve itself, because it won't. And our inability to confront this issue will not strengthen democracy. It will only ensure its permanent demise. So here's where you all come in. I need everybody watching right now to pick up the phone and call Bill Ferguson. His office's number is 410-841-3600. Again, that number is 410-841-3600. Explain to him that this is a moment that is existential, not just for Democrats, but for democracy. Remember, democracy doesn't just happen, we have to fight for it. And there's never been a more important moment to fight for democracy than when it's quite literally under attack. And when elected officials won't fight, then it's our turn to take action. So call Bill Ferguson, because we get nowhere without pressure. So apply pressure. And frankly, if he refuses to relent, then I'm sure there's a primary challenger in his district who recognizes the urgency of this moment and would be willing to meet it. In fact, what's so egregious here is that I just made an appeal on CNN just last night for Democrats across the country to use the power that they have to protect democracy while we still have the chance.
Now, the question is, are other governors going to jump in on this from the Democratic side?
And the reality is they should. I mean, I don't, to any governors or state legislators out there, I don't know what the point of building up so much political capital is if you're not willing to use it in this particular moment. I mean, this is a moment where we cannot unilaterally disarm. And so if you're in a position where you have some power to redraw your maps, and I'm talking about these Democrats who are in Oregon and Washington and Colorado, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, across the country, if you have the ability to step up and meet this moment with the urgency that it deserves, I'm calling on you to do exactly what we're doing in California and to fight fire with fire and to take steps that you need to take right now to actually protect our democracy in light of the overreach that we're seeing at the hands of Donald Trump. And if you've watched my content, you know that this is an issue that I care deeply about. So if you'd like to help amplify my voice here, please subscribe to this channel and watch my videos so that they show up in the algorithm. They are and always will be 100% free. But going back to Maryland, I spoke with Governor Wes Moore about this issue, and unlike Bill Ferguson, the governor does seem to be on board saying this.
Well, I think everybody in Maryland right now is looking at what's happening around the country. And if as the country continues to move in this direction, I think that means other states, to include Maryland, will have to look to evaluate to make sure that our maps are fair as well. And honestly, the thing about it, Brian, is like I actually can't stand this. And I think it's actually one of the things that people don't like about politics is the whole gerrymandering and, mid-cycle, without any new data, without any new census data, people saying, oh, let's rearrange maps. But this is what the president is forcing. And again, the thing that gets me about it is it's actually very similar to what he did in Georgia, where he calls up election officials and says, hey, find me votes. And now he's basically doing the same thing, except with redistricting. And again, this was the thing that he did in Georgia that actually got him indicted. And now he's going around calling different states and saying, hey, can you get me X new congressional districts? Can you give me Y new congressional districts? So I think it's one of the things that there's just continue to be this feeding into the thing that makes people absolutely exhausted about politics in the first place. And so I actually wish, if in an ideal world, you get Congress to actually pass legislation that actually bans gerrymandering, right? If Congress could do that, you could actually, I think, help to solve this thing where you say you cannot do mid-cycle gerrymandering of our congressional districts. However, if Congress is not going to do this, and if Congress is not going to do the right thing, then 100% all options should be on the table and will be on the table in the state of Maryland as we continue to see how this thing continues to evolve.
Do you view Maryland's position as being there to neutralize if we see this kind of thing happen in Missouri, for example, or Indiana? If they move forward, does that very much in the same way that Newsom viewed his effort to neutralize what happened in Texas, would you view Maryland's place here to be to neutralize what would happen hypothetically in Missouri or Indiana?
I would look at Maryland's position as we're just looking to make sure that we have fair maps too. That if these other states are looking to have fair maps, then Maryland's going to have fair maps too.
The problem is that Bill Ferguson, as Maryland's Senate president, can control what goes to the floor. So even with full buy-in from the governor, nothing moves without support from Ferguson. So again, please pick up the phone and call 410-841-3600. Urge him to be a leader. Urge him to meet the moment. Urge him to recognize the reality of the political environment that we live in. Urge him to see that sitting on the sidelines is an invitation for Republicans to entrench a permanent majority for themselves. It's happening whether or not we like it. We need leaders who have enough of a spine to fight back, so help him find his spine.